Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. My name's Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. and hope you're having a great day on a rainy day. I love, if I don't have to do anything, I just tune it rain,
I think everybody likes laying in bed or being lazy on a rainy day.
Now, don't make me feel like that, man. That's where I wish I was right now. But
you sound like my 3-year-old son, Mike.
Oh yeah,
he said, "Daddy, I'm tired. Daddy, I don't want to get up."
I know.
I got him up.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It's a struggle, and I got an 8-year-old. As every parent knows, it's just a struggle every morning.
No question about it. Of course, this is the week of Halloween, and a lot going on with the Halloween concerts going on, or concerts.
They're supposed to have something on the square today, if the rain doesn't rain it out, where you can walk around the square. And
wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
I heard my wife mention that.
I'll tell you another tradition is the sorority houses.
They're doing that too.
They do that, and they really go in big on it.
Some of the churches.
In fact, if you could just pick that up.
There's still some families down here. I was in old school Panama City Beach last night though, and went by Captain Anderson's and went by the Grand Marlin, which used to be the boatyard, and all those places were packed. I don't know, maybe it was all snowbirds, but there was a lot of cars down that way.
What were you doing down that way?
Well, I got a job, I work for Tobacco Wine, so I was down there doing some wine tastings.
Okay.
Good job.
And of course,
I have to let people try some wines every once in a while, California wines and Italian wines. Actually, we have vineyards that are getting destroyed right now in Sonoma due to the wildfires out there.
I was wondering about that. That's really terrible. And we're talking about these are not just ordinary folks. We're talking about these are multi-million-dollar homes that are being destroyed.
Yeah, I read something on the scroll that said LeBron James had to be evacuated from his house in L.A. and is living in a hotel because of these wildfires.
They also had to cut the power off due to, they say it's because they don't want any other fires to spread. So, I think 2.5 million people out there without power.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I tell you what, that makes it a no-no as far as for me wanting to live out there, I'm telling you. And it's so many other things. Of course, they have the fires, but they also have the
earthquakes.
Earthquakes, and then they have the when the earth gives way.
Mud holes or mudslides. Sinkholes.
Sinkholes, and they've got it all out.
Yeah, then they got the traffic where it takes an hour to get anywhere, if that. Huge taxes and fees for everything. I don't know how they do it.
Alabama's an 8-point favorite in Vegas right now, but it could go higher to a place. They said it could go as high as 12. If you could get LSU plus 12, that'd be a pretty good bet, wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
I think so too, gentlemen. Matter of fact, if it gets that high, I might have to fly to Vegas. And
what you said they're at 11 now?
You just drive to Mississippi.
That's right. I can go to Biloxi, can't I?
Yeah, 3 hours, man. You'll be there.
I did that when those casinos opened last year. For the first time, I was curious about what it would be like. And I went and just spent one night and made a few small bets and watched all the games on all the TVs. It was a lot of fun. But that was the first time in my whole life I'd ever been to one of the Mississippi casinos. In case some of y'all out there think that I'm some rabid gambler, I had never been to a casino in Mississippi, or Vegas for that matter.
Yeah. Mike Amos have never been to a casino in Mississippi.
No, well, you're right. You're exactly right. But I would say this, there's casinos in Montgomery, and in Wetumpka, and people get addicted to that stuff. I tell you, I've heard of some real terrible things where, people just
It can be very bad.
It's just a sickness, they say, you know.
It ruins lives, and not only your life, but those of people you love.
A guy told me one time, and he told me, he said he gambled every day, and he said it's like alcohol. I mean,
you know, it's an addiction.
You get addicted.
Didn't they reopen Victory Land, y'all?
It's back open.
They did open it back up.
It's back.
Well, my question is, why did we have all of this Gestapo raiding them and shutting them down? And it was the story of the year for months, and then they silently just say, "Oh, never mind, you can go right back in the business."
I'm gonna tell you something. He was one of the nicest people. I mean, one of the nicest people I've ever known. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I knew him, and he was incredibly nice.
Really, everybody just crazy about him, you know. And
he was on the board at Troy, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he wasn't on the board when he died. But he was on the board, and what a great man he was. I tell you, he did a lot to help a lot of people.
Chip Lindsey press conference yesterday, and Dad, did you have any clue that Caleb Barker practiced only one day last week and had the flu?
No.
Threw for 430 yards. I mean, all this information has come out later, but he played pretty good if he had the flu all week.
Yeah,
no, he sure did.
Wow.
You know, isn't that amazing? Throw for 440 yards and lose the game.
They asked Coach Lindsey if this was a must-win, and he said every game's a must-win. He said, as far as I'm concerned. So a lot of pressure now with trying to make a bowl game, and of course you got a lot of people. I've read some articles. You know, you got Eli Drinkerich, who came from NC State as their offense coordinator to take over the head coach job at Appalachian State. And Appalachian State's 7-0, and of course, Chip Lindsey replaced Neil Brown, and everybody knows what Troy's done the last 3 years, and Chip Lindsey's 3-4. So, definitely interesting to look at both of those programs and see how one has been real successful and one has been very average.
Eli, tell us a little bit about him. You said he was at North Carolina State.
Yeah, he was offense coordinator at North Carolina State, but he goes back to Malzahn. He coached with Malzahn at Auburn.
Yeah.
So he's a Malzahn guy.
Coach Malzahn has been catching some flack for his offense this year. Did you see the former NFL general manager who said his offense is one of the worst he's ever seen, and said he knows absolutely nothing about the passing game? Somebody asked Malzahn about it. He said, if you look at my 10 years here, we've had some pretty good offenses at Auburn, which is he darn sure has. To me, it just goes back to his offense is scarily good when he has a quarterback who will run it 12 to 15 times a game, can run for 100 yards like Nick Marshall and Cam Newton could.
His quarterbacks need to run.
And I thought that Bo Nix was supposed to be a very good runner, one of the fastest players on the team. But, in the LSU game, I'm struggling to remember a play where he kept the ball and ran it.
Yeah, you're right. And, and for his offense to do what it was supposed to do, that's one part of it, the quarterback actually running the option off of it, keeping the ball.
I was scanning the internet this morning and reading some comments on the story on AL.com, and some person said that Gatewood, the backup quarterback, was not at practice yesterday. Now, that's just a random reader posting that, so that could be bad rumor. But that's something to watch.
Let me tell you this. I mentioned.
I see where Gatewood ought to go. Gatewood ought to go back to play at Georgia Tech. I think he's from somewhere. Well, maybe he's from Florida, I thought, but he needs to go play where he can run the ball.
Yeah, he's a good football player, and I'm gonna tell you, Auburn might still be in there playing. I just don't believe this other guy has really done what he's got to do.
If the difference is that Nix is supposed to be the better passer, well, if he's a better passer, he's obviously not a great passer. He's completing about 50% of his passes, if less than that. And then I know that Gatewood is a better runner.
Yeah.
That he would average 4 yards a carry.
Who puts more pressure on you, Gatewood or
Gatewood? I think.
I do too. I think before it's all over with, you're going to see Gatewood at quarterback. Gatewood, I mean, is a tremendous athlete, and of course,
Well, I mean, everybody keeps on saying the pressure goes back on Malzahn if he loses to Georgia at home and Alabama at home. You know, if he finishes 8-4, you know what happens. And then a guy was saying on the radio show yesterday, I actually pick up the Jay Barker radio show down here. It goes out of Fort Walton, Destin, and I've been listening to it the last few days. And the guy called in and he said that if he goes 8-4 and Arkansas gets rid of Chad Morris, does Malzahn take the Arkansas job and just get away from all this headache at Auburn?
Hey, money talks, money talks.
Does he have a buyout?
Well, I mean, the buyout, you know, at Auburn is insane. I mean, it's still like around $24 million even after this year.
Well, what would so if he left to take the Arkansas job, wouldn't Arkansas have to pay Auburn a ton of money?
I mean, you would think so, yeah.
So I think that makes that less likely. But
yeah. Gatewood, again, is a great athlete, and right now he's sitting on the bench, and Nix is the quarterback. And Auburn's a pretty good football team, and there's no question in my mind that Auburn could probably beat Georgia and Alabama. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, they're going to have to play a lot better than what I saw against LSU.
Now, they got this other running back now, DJ Williams. So when Whitlow
I mean, their defense is always going to show up. It's just a matter of, you know, offensively. I think they'd have a lot better chance to beat Georgia than they beat Alabama. You know, if they got in a shootout with Alabama, I think Alabama would outscore them.
you know what I think is that Alabama can beat Auburn, but it's always tough and a challenge. Alabama needs Tua to beat Auburn with that great defense Auburn has. So that kind of gets me back to my point that it might be safer for Alabama that if Tua is not 90% against LSU, you sit Tua against LSU and you protect him and let him get back to 100%, so you have a better chance of beating Auburn in Auburn.
Yeah, the majority of the time Saban's beat Auburn. I mean, he's lost to Auburn, you know, 2 or 3 times. I think 3 or maybe 4 times. I can't remember how many times, but the times he does beat Auburn, he usually blows them out. It's usually not even a close game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dad and I've been to plenty of Alabama games in Auburn, and Alabama's blown them out. Alabama's also Will Riker, the kicker. It looks like he's going to be out against LSU, so Baleos is going to have to kick. And then Alabama's lost their tight end, Miller Forstall, who's a pretty good receiver, to a throat injury. You don't hear about that much in football, but he is out. Najee Harris is back to practice, and Deontay Smith was back to practice, so that's good news for Alabama. They both had injuries last week.
Yeah, throat injury. I wonder how that happened. We probably don't want to know how that happened.
They need to utilize the tight
I don't know. That seems like maybe that should have been a personal foul if you injured your throat somehow.
Well, maybe he'll be back for the Auburn game. He's a good leader and a great kid. You know, he was I'll give you some trivia about Morris. Phil, what's his name? Forstall, thank you.
Yeah.
He was the starting quarterback at Trevor Lawrence's high school before Trevor Lawrence beat him out.
Gosh, are you serious?
Was a freshman or maybe an 8th grader, a freshman. Yeah, and
isn't that something?
And when Trevor beat out Forstall, they moved Forstall to tight ends, and he's at Alabama now. But he was once a quarterback. Got a free trivia.
You know, SMU will be playing Memphis on primetime ABC Saturday night, and it's pretty amazing. You know, SMU's offensive coordinator is Rhett Lachey, who was at Auburn all those years. You know, who's pretty much like Malzahn's son. He's their offensive coordinator. He's done a good job at SMU.
Yeah,
sure has.
No question about it.
And we can watch Richard McBride.
Yeah. You're right, no question.
Yeah, I was reading an article today, Dad. This is interesting. Bayside Academy has the longest and greatest sports streak in Alabama history right now in athletics. They've won 17 straight volleyball championships.
I was looking at this right here, and the championships start today. And Bayside Academy has dominated that out of Mobile.
Yeah, 17 straight.
What classification is that?
I'm not sure what classification they are. I want to say they're 3A.
I lived in Montgomery a long time, and used to have a great girls volleyball program with Montgomery Academy. Had a real strong program.
Yeah, they sure did.
Ginger Sprague is their coach.
Is she really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, she was involved in it somehow. I don't know if she's the main coach.
Yeah.
But she used to live in Troy.
Oh,
I'll tell you who else is a great athlete. Great athletes at Montgomery Academy were the 3 daughters of Wanda Elder. Y'all remember Wanda? Graduated from high school with me.
I remember her.
Was a great track star at Troy University, middle distances.
Sure was.
Now she lives in Montgomery, married. I think her last name is Brooks now.
Yeah.
And all 3 of her daughters have attended Montgomery Academy, and they were all superstars in basketball, volleyball, and sports.
Mike, Pike County has moved up to number 2 in the Class 3A rankings this week. We said it from the very get-go.
You said it.
That this team could win a state championship with this great running back. And he's got more than one. It's probably 2 or 3 great running backs and a great defense. They're loaded. Gordo, Larry Blakeney's old team, is first in class.
I've never been to Gordo. You ever been to Gordo?
Yep,
I've been to
I have.
Gordo several times. If you ever go to Starkville, you go through Gordo. It's about 20 miles above Tuscaloosa.
I've never been to
Right.
Starkville.
That's right. You know,
At one time, the athletic director at Auburn was from Gordo, and the head coach at Troy University was from Gordo, and they still didn't play in football.
that's right. Sure it is. You're right. We grew up together.
You know who else was from Gordo? It pops in the things that pop in your mind. Alabama linebacker Wayne Davis, who was a great linebacker in the 80s.
Exactly.
I think has more career tackles than any Alabama linebacker. His son plays at Alabama.
One of the biggest flops in Alabama history.
Now let me tell you a story. Right next to Gordo is Reform, Alabama. Some people call it Reform, but the folks up there call it Reform. And they're the
most people call it a speed trap.
well, let's just say this: Reform and Boaz are right next to each other. They're huge rivals. And a family that came out of Reform, Alabama, was the Elmore family.
Are Elmore's?
All right, your Elmore's family. Ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, the most prolific family in the history of Alabama football or in high school football was the Elmores out of Reform, Alabama. Albert Elmore, all right, Albert Elmore Sr. worked for State Farm Insurance, but prior to that was the head football coach at Troy State Teachers College. And then he had played in the Rose Bowl, at Alabama.
Wow, he was a
he
great.
played with Coach Bryant. He was one of the. He was before Coach Bryant, but he played in the Rose Bowl. Okay, Doug Elmore came out of was one of the siblings of the Elmores. He was the starting quarterback at Johnny Vaught's great Ole Miss teams.
Okay.
All right. Albert Elmore Jr. played quarterback at Alabama. He at one time held the longest
pass play in
Alabama history to Bobby Luna.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was 80-some yards, 89 yards, something like that. But a great athlete too. He played behind Bart Starr at Alabama. Then he beat Bart Starr out at Alabama. So he actually played ahead of Bart Starr at Alabama at one time. All right, Ronnie Elmore was a great quarterback at Chattanooga. All right, J.T. Elmore was was a great athlete and great coach. Grady Elmore,
Good gracious.
came out of that area. Grady Elmore Sr. was a longtime coach at great player in Alabama, the old man, but then he became a great coach at Andalusia and also a coach at Ozark. Grady Elmore Jr. was a punter at Alabama, great athlete at Andalusia, great athlete at Ozark. Mm-hmm. and then went on to Alabama and was their punter for 4 years at Alabama. Then played wide receiver with Grady Elmore Jr.
You made a strong case.
But the Elmore family. All right. Larry Blakeney.
Frank Elmore played at Troy, didn't he?
Frank Elmore played at Troy, signed with Troy, Auburn, and was one of those transfers, and started at Troy for 3 years. Great player. And,
he's from the Elmore tree too.
Yeah, he actually grew up though in Gordo, Gordo, and then his first cousin Larry Blakeney was his first cousin. Larry Blakeney's mother was an Elmore.
I never knew
That's right.
That. So
Elmore
there's a connection
family,
between Coach
Blakeney
Blakeney and Albert Elmore.
Let me tell you this. You could put that together by talking to Albert Elmore Sr., who's a long time. He's in his 80s, and he still sells insurance for State Farm.
He still can shoot par in golf.
Oh, yeah,
he plays golf about every day.
Golfers at the Montgomery Country Club.
Yeah.
And but see all that, and then all the offshoots from there. The Elmore family from Reform, Alabama, is the most prolific football family as far as numbers go of any around.
Well, what brought him to Troy? He was selling.
Well, all right. Well, he got an opportunity to be the head football coach at Troy.
That was Elmore
Senior. He played in the Rose Bowl and then coached at Troy for, I want to say, 10 years. He was with them a long time, and then. After that he played, after that he worked for State Farm Insurance for years. He was also a great golfer. He shot his age when he was 80. He shot 80.
How about that?
And or under 80. And a great man. And Mary Earl Elmore, his daughter, now living in Dothan. She's very good. I grew up with them.
Well, they're fine family. One of those Elmore ladies was one of my grandmother's best friends.
Great bridge player.
Played bridge all the time with my grandmother, Lucy Wright.
One of the great bridge players of all time.
She was a fine, gracious lady.
Miss Mary Lee Elmore.
Well, thank you for. I didn't know all of this. That there were so many Elmores.
And they came out of the little town. And now our buddy that was the athletic director at Auburn. Housel. Believe it or not, as big as Housel was, at one time Housel weighed 500 pounds. He was huge, and but he, of course, became the voice of the Auburn Tigers, and of course was the athletic director.
He was a long-time sports information director.
If there was ever a Mr. Auburn, it would be Housel, and of course he and Larry were great friends, but. And Housel was a big guy, weighed about 400 pounds when he played high school football.
Well, he was sports information director at Auburn forever before he became how many y'all?
Yeah.
How often do you see a sports information director become the athletic director?
Exactly. Now you know the rest of the story.
Well, as you were.
Other Alabama families would be what? The Goods, the Hannas.
Yeah.
The Castiles are a huge Alabama family.
Yeah, and of course Ronnie Elmore played at Chattanooga, was a good player too. There are more of them. That's just the ones I know.
The Brits from Coleman had 3 that played.
I'll tell you, the Masses. Wait a minute, the linemen come through. But we're talking about big numbers here.
There's several neighbors that played at Alabama too.
That's right. The Hannas had 3.
Billy Neighbors played with my dad and was arguably the best player on that team. His son Wes Neighbors was a great center at Alabama in the early '80s under Perkins.
Yeah, the Castiles had 4 that played at Alabama.
Yeah, and
the Hannas had 3.
The Goods had 4.
Well, the Hannas had 3 sons, but Mr. Hanna or their uncles also played at Alabama.
Antonio Langham was a first cousin to the Goods.
You include him in the Good tree.
That's right. But it would be something to look at. Of course, the Elmore family was there for a long time, a bunch of the numbers, and that was just the people that I knew, they were offshoots.
Did Albert Elmore Jr. ever play with Bobby Marlowe, or was he a little after him?
He was a little bit younger. He might have played as a sophomore.
Freshman or something?
He might have been a sophomore or freshman when Marlowe played.
Was a senior?
The quarterback with Marlowe was Sambo Murphy. Was the quarterback. That's Tom Murphy's brother.
Mm-hmm. He was great.
Was the quarterback, and then Elmore, I think, came after him. and I'm not positive. Then, of course, not too far down the road was
Johnny Crease was a sophomore. He told me
another guy that played at Troy that was the quarterback at Troy back then. Oh, shoot. I can't remember his name, but in the backfield with Bobby Marlowe was a guy named Hadaway, Charlie Hadaway. And you know what?
He played at Auburn, didn't he?
Played at Auburn.
And he was a star at Auburn.
Yeah, see, Hadaway was a star. Hadaway and Marlowe. Now, let me just say this. And if you're starting to compare, you can. Dyes and Wise out of Elba, the great combination. Both went to Alabama. Marlon Dice and Mac Wise. Mac might be watching this morning. Mac Wise, living in Luverne, Alabama, born and raised in Elba, played on some of those great Elba teams. But he was the first man to score a touchdown with Coach Paul Bryant at Alabama.
How about that?
So he can take pride in that. And but that was a great combination. The combination of Bobby Marlowe and Hadaway was a great one. Let me tell you this. You know what they talk about Bobby Marlowe? First of all, he was not only a All-American running back at Alabama, but he was also an All-American linebacker. See, Hootie Ingram. You've heard of Hootie Ingram, former Alabama athletic director. I went to a baseball game at Tuscaloosa one time, but of course, one of my closest friends is Johnny Williams, and he knows Hootie real well, and got him to come over and sit with us. And he started talking about Marlowe, and he said I played safety, and he said I made very few tackles because Marlowe was going to make it. He said they couldn't get by Marlowe. And I've talked to people that played against him, people that grew up in Luverne, Sammy and some of my buddies that played, that had to play against him. I mean, they didn't even want to go. Hey, listen, y'all, how many times have you seen these little defensive backs? They didn't even want to try to tackle him because he ran so hard. And he said he ran with his knees up, and when you hit him, his knees would just rip you apart. I mean, he was so physical. He weighed about 195, and back then that's what your lineman weighed. You know, and he was real fast, and no question. And then, of course, Charlie Hadaway had a brother named Dan Hadaway that also played at Auburn. And,
I did a story one time on Marlowe, how great he was, but I focused a lot of attention on that 48 or 49 Troy High School team.
Yeah.
I think there were 7 or 8 players on that team that eventually played college football.
Another great one that came
And they not only went undefeated, if you look at the scores, there wasn't one team that stayed within 6 touchdowns of them the whole year.
It was unreal.
Where was Marlowe from before he came to the children's home?
Jasper, I want to say.
Yeah.
I want to say the Jasper area. But Roland Powell, of course, out of Elba, was a great player. You folks in Elba, Roland Powell was a great player at Troy, but he was a great athlete. He played on the same team with Marlowe and Dice, and boy, they were good. Gosh, they were good. As a young boy, something I can visualize is Elba in black. You Elba folks, correct me now. They had gold helmets. I'm talking about brilliant gold helmets.
Notre Dame?
With black jerseys and gold numerals and black pants with gold numerals. And I remember, of course, Little Elba that year beat Big Dothan.
Wow.
Can you picture Elba going up against Dothan High School, and they beat them?
I'm not surprised. Elba's
It was some kind of bowl game down there they had, and Bud Casey played on that. He said he was a young player on that team.
He remembers it.
Yeah, but it's amazing, these combinations. I'll tell you a couple of more. This was out of Ozark. Mickey Andrews and Billy Knowles was a great combination. At a Charles Henderson High School in Troy, if this guy would have stayed healthy, Richard Bassett and Ricky Huner, they were as good as anybody that ever came out of, talking about 2 great running backs. The other great tandem running back.
Where did Hunter go and play college ball
Yeah,
anywhere?
he played at Troy and was a very good player at Troy. He was playing in the second division. He's a safety. He'd knock your head off. I'll tell you, he was a fast, aggressive guy.
Yeah.
You know, his brother Herbie was a great athlete.
Yeah.
And Herbie
Well, I
lettered.
associate the Hunters with baseball, but then
Herbie Hunter lettered in 5 sports at Marion Institute.
wow.
I mean, he was a golfer. He played tennis. He ran track. Look at this: baseball, football, and basketball. Then he ran track, and then he played golf, and then he played. He might have lettered in 6 sports. But
Richard Bassett had committed to Alabama, hadn't he?
yeah, he was going to be their next great wishbone. Let me just say this, and I'm not knocking this guy at all, but Ozark, Carroll High, Ozark had had 3 guys that were
Wilbur Jackson and
Ellis
Beck
and Dexter Wood. All 3 of those at one time started for Alabama. Now, not knocking Ellis Beck, but he wasn't even close to being a Richard Bassett. People that remember him, Bassett weighed about 220, 225, looked like Hercules, and came off the ball as fast as anybody I've ever seen. But he got hurt on the first play or second play for the scrimmage against Opp to start the season, and he never played again that year. But Troy signed him anyway. Alabama backed off on him because of the knee injury or ankle injury, and he played at Troy and played very well at Troy. He hit a hole, and he was a very good player at Troy. But here was somebody calling in right here. Let's see. I'm going to put you on hold. This is Max, Mike, and I'm going to bring you on. So just stay with us. We're going to go to a hold here and find out who this is. Good morning. How you doing?
Max, this morning.
Max, this you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. Max Howell calling in, and I'm going to put you on hold a second, Max, and then come right back.
Okay.
All right, we're going to bring Mike Amos on. Then we're going to bring, okay, got both of you on, don't I?
I'm here.
I'm on.
Okay, Max Howell calling from Fulton, Mississippi. Max, I was going through talking about some old players that were great combination players. The one I didn't mention, but I'll mention now, was the great running back tandem in the early 60s from Greenville. And they were not the Owens, but the, oh boy. Oh, gosh.
This all started, you talked about the Elmore family tree of Elmores, everybody that played at Auburn,
Sure.
Yeah.
Alabama. And
Max, have you ever heard that story about all the Elmores that came out of Reform, Alabama? And, of course, you knew a few of them. You knew Albert Elmore, and you knew the old man, too, didn't you?
Yeah, because my dad's from Reform, Alabama.
Yeah, all right, so and he's talked to you about the Elmore family. I'm saying it's the most prolific family to ever come out of the state of Alabama.
Athletic family.
Athletic.
Yeah, I think if you remember, guys, Bart Starr was a backup to Albert Jr. in Alabama.
So you heard it from somebody else. I keep telling people all the time that he did that, and you said the same thing.
Yeah, Bart's dad and I used to talk about it all the time. When I lived in Montgomery, he and I went to church together, and we'd sit outside on Sunday morning just talk about, because Bart was just breaking into the NFL at that time. And I'm telling you, that family, probably, I don't know where history's done that. Of course, now I guess the Manning family has, surpassed whatever went along with the Elmores. But great topic this morning, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. There was also a guy named Doug Elmore that was the starting quarterback on some of Coach Johnny Vaught's best teams at Ole Miss. You remember that?
Now, was he a son of Albert Sr. or a brother?
No, he was a brother. His daddy was a brother. And, of course...
they spread the talent around.
Yeah. Then, of course, Grady Elmore Jr. Was just an outstanding athlete at Andalusia. That's where his daddy coached. And then his daddy left Andalusia, went to Ozark. And he played in the same backfield with Mickey Andrews and Billy Knowles. Did you ever talk to Mickey about his playing days in high school?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course, I was on the staff with him at Florida State.
Yeah.
And in fact, he got me there. I'll be honest with you. He's the one that recommended me to.
Other than being the biggest snuff and tobacco chewer in the world, have you ever seen him when he did have tobacco juice all over his face?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, Mickey was as good a guy, a person, as you ever wanted to know. But I'm gonna tell you, his personality changed when he stepped on that practice field. That was a whole different man.
He was a fired up guy, wasn't he?
He was, buddy. I used to tell him, people ask me about him, Nick. I said he's a great guy, but he'll spit on your breakfast. I'm telling you,
Max is a big difference in a guy that is good but the whole key to me is a guy that's good and plays hard every play. You got a lot of great athletes that don't play hard every play. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing too that I love, he had a unique ability to scout those guys. I mean, we had so much talent, particularly in '68. In 88. When I was at Florida State, we had so much talent, but Mickey could sort through there. He had a great rotation. And I tell you, I've said this on the show before, guys. I was there almost 3 years, and Coach Bowden never came to the defensive meeting. We designed the game plan. Mickey taking it down Monday morning. That's what y'all want to do. Go for it. Coach Bowden had a great deal of respect for him because he had a good. And he's back on the sideline right now. At Florida State.
Oh, is he doing some consultant work or what?
Yeah, he's a consultant for the staff there. And I'll be honest with you, they need some on both sides of the ball.
Oh, yeah, they sure do. In my senior year in high school, we had Sonny Williford, Rusty Gibson, James Lucas, and Buck Corley. Yeah. Those were 4 good running backs on one team. Usually you're lucky to have 2. But the tandem, that other Greenville tandem that played the same time as Andrews and Knowles, that was a great group, with 2 backs. Max, a team that had 2 good running backs, man, it was something else. Max, what do you think about this kid from Daleville who last weekend he had 9 carries for 445 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he played only in the first half.
Mike, let me tell you, I had to see the guy actually with no competition. I mean, just think about it.
I mean, it's like nobody was there. Was there anybody out there to defend?
Who were they playing?
They were playing Barber County, who's lost like 70 in a row.
Yeah, they were. But the week before, he did the same thing on he scored 8 touchdowns on 9 carries this past weekend, and he gained 400 yards and 8 touchdowns last weekend.
He's got 930 yards in 2 weeks.
Yards in 2 games.
Yeah, 900 some yards in 2 games.
Now, I read the stats. And,
Yeah.
Of course, that was a lot of attention from a lot of scouts, but I tell you guys, the first thing I will look at is who they played against.
Yeah.
What kind of competition,
Yeah.
to see. And I can go back through the years. That was one of the early knocks on Peyton Manning. He came out of a small private school.
Yeah, that's right.
In New Orleans, and there was a 2A school. People thought, well, he's not playing against anybody. Of course, he was an exception. Had great lineage, and genetics were great for him. He went on to have a great career. All-Pro and everything else, but that does play a role when you start the recruiting process, particularly with the numbers they've got today.
We're talking about great athletic families. You're right, Max. It's hard to beat the Mannings. So you had Archie, and then he had he's a legend. Peyton's a legend. Eli's almost a legend. He won 2 Super Bowls, and then his third son was a college player, and then he had some kind of sickness and had to give up football. And now I understand he's got a grandson that they say is a hot prospect.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah, Arch is his name. They're already promoting him already. He's going to be a big kid, I think.
They say, I was around him a little bit at the bowl game a couple of years ago when, Archie's got a a bar and restaurant downtown, or in the quarter.
I know that.
In New Orleans. Yeah, oh, yeah. And we met him and talked to him a little bit during that time. He seems like a great guy. You know him personally, don't you?
Oh yeah, he really is. It's no put on about Archie. But here's the thing and I had this conversation as late as yesterday, of course, about the injuries and all. Archie got beat up pretty good. I mean, if you remember, he was one of the first running quarterbacks that could run and throw when he came along.
That's right. Yeah.
To the NFL, and he got beat up pretty good. I'm really surprised that he hasn't shown any, early signs of dementia or
You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's your connection or where your phone is.
Yeah, I know it. But Max, you still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Max Howell is calling us from Fulton, Mississippi.
Who's going to win the toilet bowl between Mississippi State and Arkansas this weekend?
Wait a minute. The toilet bowl, where's that being played?
You know what? That may be a 0-0 score. They may play one of those 6-step overtime games. I talked with the folks in Arkansas yesterday, and they said it was the biggest chaos mess over there you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids are turning on each other, the coaches. It's just a mess right now. And Mississippi State is a little bit better right now, but the word's already out.
I don't think there's any question that Mississippi State will beat them, probably beat them a couple of touchdowns, don't you think?
They got better athletes. They got more athletes. But Joe Moorhead's going to probably resign at the end of the year. He's already proven the game itself is over his head in the SEC as opposed to where he came from.
No question about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a really strange hire. I mean, I'm surprised they're not more on the athletic director about that hire.
Well, of course, John Cohen is a long time, a Mississippi State guy. Of course, you know where he's from. He's from Tuscaloosa. John's dad was a professor at Alabama, and he grew up there. But Mississippi State recruited him out of high school to play baseball, and he was an all-conference player. Did a great job. Went on, had a good coaching career, and just got elevated. If you remember the controversy when Ron Polk resigned at Mississippi State as baseball, Ron did not recommend John Cohen, but the administration got behind him and he got that. But John went out and hired a new baseball coach this past year from Indiana. He's got contacts all over the country as far as bringing in guys from out of the region.
Well, if I was Mississippi State, I'd either make a call to UAB, to Clark, or I'd make a call to Norval at Memphis. That would be my two coaching hires.
I'm thinking I'm going to be interested in watching UAB this week against Tennessee. That if Tennessee keeps improving, that's going to be really a good ball game. I'm thinking, but look, Bill Clark's done a remarkable job. You go back, they won 3 state championships at Prattville, went to South Alabama as a defensive coordinator. He was good enough that the UAB administration kept him on and paid him $600,000 a year when they didn't even have a football program. So I think that's volumes about Bill Clark.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy I think that could probably definitely do well in an SEC job. I think he's a guy that can build a program. He proved it.
I'm surprised he hadn't come up for all these other job openings. I mean, you never hear his name, and I mean, what coach has done a better job under tougher circumstances?
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office.
Piggly Wiggly's local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA Choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale, only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. deposit, $29 down, and you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down, and payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Are you a driver trainee looking for a job? Then come to Wiley Sanders Truck Line, where we reimburse you for your driver training pay. Thank you so much for bringing Reed Steak to Wiley Sanders Truck Line.
Absolutely. And now that we brought them to you, what do you have to offer them?
I have a lot to offer them. I can offer them 401k. I can give them 4% of their gross pay. I can give them Blue Cross Blue Shield. I can get them home twice a week and every weekend. That's right, twice a week, every weekend. Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, Troy, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate Wiley Sanders Truck Line being one of our sponsors, the Up Store, and of course, great people. And of course, we are very proud to have them as part of our team here. Of course, if you were watching the baseball game last night, the Nationals, the Washington Nationals, have won that game over Houston, and now they'll play for a championship. That's where you want it to be. 7-game series goes down to the one game. Now, Mike, tell us where that'll be and when will it be?
I'll be tonight in Houston. You know, Houston won 3 in a row. And
wait a minute, will it be all right, last night they were playing in Houston, weren't they?
Yeah, so you play 2 at home when you're the host team, and then you play 3 on the road at Washington, and then you get 2 at home to finish it out.
Well, that'll be something to do. You know, you don't see a World Series game every day, so it's down to that one game, and should be fun.
I'm gonna pull for the Nationals.
Max, will you watch any of it at all?
Man, listen, I'm a guy that wished the World Series was Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
I hate for it to dip in the time, and I always have felt that way. I'll watch it in the summer a little bit, but and occasionally I've watched the World Series. Of course, when I was in Atlanta having to cover from the Braves, so it's for the big guys for professional baseball. Of course, the Nationals in it now.
Yeah. I was telling somebody the other day that I went to the All-Star game when they had it in Atlanta. Were you in Atlanta then?
Oh, yeah.
When they had the All-Star game, you know, Atlanta hadn't been in there very long, and that was really a treat to go to an All-Star game.
Yeah, the guy that helped put that thing together was a guy named Stan Kasten. But you know what? This way as he went from there to the Washington. He built the Washington program, and he got the Nationals started. Then he went from there to Los Angeles and got the Dodgers started out there. So he's a Hall of Famer if there ever was. Of course, Ted Turner had hired him. He ran the Braves, the Hawks, and for the Thrashers, I guess.
Little trivia question here. There was a beer that was famous in Atlanta when the Braves first got there. Can you tell me the name of that beer?
It was, Billy Beer?
No.
Good guess, though.
You're going to get 3 choices.
Falstaff.
You had a cousin that ran it.
Flint's?
No, not Flint's. They had a brewery there, Max. You know where it was, out by the airport.
It was the Atlanta Colt 45.
No, that was the Houston beer, Atlanta Colt 45. Don't you remember, Max? It was located out on 75, I want to say. Carling Black Label. You remember that name of that beer, Carling Black Label?
Yeah,
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, they had a distributor. They had a brewery there.
Yeah, by the time I got to Atlanta, I'd already elevated myself. That low end.
I like trivia questions. And here's the guy with the biggest smile in Atlanta, Rico Cardi. Do you remember Rico Cardi?
Well, maybe a little bit.
No, but you know the play-by-play guy. What was his name, Mike?
Chip Carey?
No, not Chip Carey.
Skip Carey?
No, not Skip Carey.
Arnie.
Ernie. No, not them.
Arnie and Pete.
Milo Hamilton. Milo. You remember him, don't you, Max?
Oh, yeah.
Back to Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, Milo Hamilton.
Little Mike, tell me, what happened to Don Sutton on the radio broadcast of the Braves?
mean, I don't know. He was doing radio. I thought he was doing radio. Oh, they moved Joe Simpson off the television to the radio. Maybe that's what happened.
Well, we can sure ask his brother. His brother lives right across town here, and huge Troy fan. I love it. I tell you, those are two great guys.
Well, Don Sutton is probably 74 years old, 75.
Talking about Ron Sutton, and of course Ron lives here and a huge Troy supporter. All right, Max Howell is our guest, one of the leading analysts in the country. And of course, now you'll be talking to Wimp today too, won't you, Max?
I do. I do his show on Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
But usually, he and I usually talk on Wednesday afternoons. He was all tied up. He went to Alabama this weekend. Joe Davis had his birthday party over there. Called me on Monday and said they played golf all weekend. And, of course, Cheryl was there. He knows Jack and I have been good friends for a long, long time. But Wimp stays on top of it. And he's just a basketball guy. That guy could have coached football, baseball, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
About as fungible as anybody you ever want to talk to. Wilson, and he's still sharp as a tack.
I saw where the Alabama basketball team, they've got a new coach, and they had a scrimmage against Georgia Tech. I don't know when you could start having scrimmages with other teams.
Well, Troy had one against Auburn here in Troy Friday, and I watched it.
Well, how'd that go?
Troy played them tough. You knew that.
Auburn that went to the Final Four?
Auburn and Troy played at 2 o'clock Sunday. There were three guys. Listen, there were three guys other than Troy people, and of course they treated it just like a regular game. Hey, Mike Shouts was one of the referees. Shouts, my buddy, probably the top referee out there, big strong guy.
Yeah.
He was the referee, and let me tell you, the Auburn coach bitched. Excuse my language, but bitched and groaned the whole time. Either at his players or the officials, but Troy played real well, especially when they got in the full court press. Troy's press gave Auburn a lot of trouble.
Well,
but Auburn's going to have a very good team. Auburn had 2 or 3 real good 3-point shooters, but and then had one big guy. He about 6'9", Mike. You probably know who I'm talking about. Big, strong guy.
Wiley. Aubrey.
The Wiley kid's 6'11", 7 foot.
All right, this guy is big. He wears number 50 or wears 60. Good looking at him.
That's Wiley.
Yeah, and he's real physical too. He's a real physical guy.
They also have Buck Johnson's son playing the 2 guard for Auburn now.
Buck Johnson's son is playing for Auburn?
Let me tell you, there were 2 of my good friends and me, and the reason I found out about it, the basketball coach was in Atlanta. I thought it was great. The whole family came over to Atlanta to watch the football game, and we were talking, and he said, well, we got he was talking to one of our other fans, somebody you know very well, and he said, we're going to scrimmage Auburn tomorrow, but, it's closed. I asked him, I said, Coach, you don't mind if we sneak in? He said, well, that's up to y'all. And the 3 of us snuck in and watched a very good basketball game.
Well, you buried the lead. You should have been talking about that at the beginning of the show.
And let me tell you, and I'll tell you, I've snuck in a mini ball game when I was a kid, but I sat way up top for the first half, pretty much. But my buddies, they come walking in, and they walk down the right there in mid-court almost, and stood there, and then they walked around and got a seat right behind the Troy bench. It was supposed to be secret, and it didn't bother them at all. And nobody said anything, but it was great.
This isn't just any Auburn basketball team. This is the best basketball team in Auburn history.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. Also,
how did you get in? Did you get in through a window?
No. The doors were unlocked. The people just didn't know about it.
They didn't advertise it.
But all you had to do would be riding down the road and look over there and see the big Auburn bus. I mean, the big Auburn bus was very prevalent. And then after that game was over, what they do? They played 2 halves. And Troy played them real tough. I think, Auburn got a lot out of that scrimmage because Troy played them good.
Auburn, in basketball, you always play 2 halves.
All right, I know it, but see, they kept score each half.
and started over.
And they started over. Then,
Yeah, I would have loved to have known about that myself. I might have drove down to watch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was great.
Well, Alabama played, and they opened it up to the public against Georgia Tech, and they beat the slop out of Georgia Tech with this new coach.
Did they?
They beat them by 40 is what I heard.
30 or so. Now, I understand Georgia Tech's real down, but that was a good start for the new coach.
Well, yeah, exactly. But after the game, and let me tell you something. This Auburn coach hollered and screamed the entire game, and of course it was just like a regular game. You had those three big-time officials, you know. And after the game, they said, "Oh, I want 10 more minutes." So he said, "Put all the players that didn't play in the first game, and put them up against your guys." And Troy's backups played against Auburn's backups, and Auburn had more depth, you could tell, but it was still very good basketball, and Troy was well represented.
Awesome.
And they loved the facility. Those Auburn folks just kept talking about how much they like the facility.
Oh, no school Troy size has a prettier basketball facility than we do.
No question about it. Of course, we've got a big week this week, Mike, and Max, coach of Carolina, is starting to really make some
improvements.
Yeah, some improvements and whatever. They're a pretty good program. Is that a good place to get high school players?
I think up and down that coast, Mike. In fact, you go back and look. Tennessee's made a living out of that for years. And certainly the Carolina programs. Of course, Matt Brown's back at North Carolina, and certainly he'll recoup some of those.
It surprised me how well he's done. Duke, that was a huge win to beat Duke like that.
Yeah, it was. So
they're just 15 miles down the street from each other, aren't they?
Shoot, they're only 9 miles.
Yeah. So all right, tell me a little bit about the Troy thing. I couldn't find the score all week here.
Troy is very, very, very average.
Yeah.
Listen to this. They say now that
no other word to say.
Max, they say that Troy's quarterback was sick, was not feeling well at all, but he still threw for 440 yards.
Wow.
And got beat.
Troy has a excellent offense and a awful defense, to say frankly.
Was Georgia State as good as advertised?
Yes, sir. They were good. Max, they were as fast as any team I've seen in a long time. I mean, I'm talking about their quarterback and their running back were fast. They had a running back that gained 245 yards.
I did see that finally. I did some stats like Tuesday.
Yeah.
Finally, but I couldn't find anybody that had a score.
Max, you need to get on ESPN Plus. The games are all on ESPN Plus. All you got to pay is $4.99 a month.
Do you have to do anything to your TV?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's all through the app.
Yeah.
See, I ain't got that. No, you're right.
I don't have it myself. I don't have it.
Yeah. Of course, if you ever want to listen to Troy games, all you got to do is go on TroyTrojans.com, and they carry every game live for free on TroyTrojans.com.
Well, that's
good.
On radio. On radio. Some people were watching it in the stands.
Will Ole Miss cover the 20 against Auburn this weekend?
No, I don't think so.
You mean Ole Miss? Auburn's a 20-point favorite.
Well, they got 3 or 4 guys that they advertise their issues after. They're trying to get them well. They had an off week this past week, but look, they know they're going to have a new coach at the end of the year. Those kids now are just trying to get through the season. It's not as big a turmoil as at Mississippi State or at Arkansas, but just don't have enough talent. And Auburn's going to win. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to watch, though. We're going to see if Gus can get that team back up and play at a good level. Mm-hmm. And if Auburn walks out there and just thinks they're going to walk through, Ole Miss will give them a ball game because Ole Miss ain't got to win or lose. They're going out there to play, and that's about it.
Max, this is a good time to bring that big.
2 weeks to get ready too.
Max is a good time to bring that big quarterback in there.
Probably.
Well, it is. But you know what? Why they grabbed him the other day, kept him off the field. And guys, we can say what we want to, but you tell me how much Bo Nix has improved since he was in high school. He ain't any better today than he was when he played.
That's right. I don't believe he is either. I don't believe he is either. You're right.
And I'm just saying, when you got a program that's got that kind of particular defensive talent, that all you got to do is, but did we not say when Whitlow went down, well, there goes the running game because they don't have another back to carry the ball? I think they ran, Martin, 5 or 6 times the whole ball game.
But now they're looking at this young guy as being another big-time running back.
Well, but see, they got 4 games left. You know, and 2 of them, Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, when do you think they'd want to redshirt this guy, Mike?
Well, see, now you can play them in 4 ball games, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
And still redshirt them. So, I think they'll look at that. They'll have an option of what they'll do. But the way they played offensively the other day, they're not going to beat Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah.
So they're going to be 8-4 again.
But that's why I'm thinking they might bring the quarterback. They got 2 weeks to prepare him. I wouldn't doubt if they didn't bring him in there.
Wouldn't that be just him, Malzahn, saying, well, I was wrong, and making a big admission on the most important decision involving my program, I made the wrong call? If he pulled, I mean, in other words, will his ego allow him to do that?
What do you think, Max? You've been there and done that. Would you make a change?
Here's what we don't know. We don't know what goes on in the dressing room. We don't know what kind of leadership. If you make a change, what happens to the team? As the kids gravitated to Bo Nix, even regardless, it goes, had his back the whole time. Guys, when you lose 1 or 2 that you're supposed to, you got a chance to really win. And I did think Auburn's defense. I thought Kevin Steele did the best job I've seen. They rushed 3, had a middle linebacker, the spy on Burrs, and they had 7 to secondary. So I thought that was a really good call. Nobody had done that before. It caused Burrs a lot of problems. But we don't know what the internal makeup of that team is right now. And it's hard to gather. Yeah. I think we'll get a good read this week. If they come out there and, score 50 against Ole Miss, I said, hey, they can rebound. But if they come down sluggish and, doesn't play very well, I'm going to say Auburn could have some
But, these fans are going to make them play well because they're going to be fired up. And they play the next 5 games at home, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great benefit.
Auburn's home the rest of the season.
Right, yeah. Okay. I know that makes a difference. It really does make a difference. Yeah. And maybe that's what Gus is counting on. I don't know.
This would be a good weekend to go over and watch Auburn. When are they going to play that game, Mike?
I want to say that's going to be a night game because Georgia and Florida are going to be the CBS game. Yeah, I want to say that's going to be a 6 o'clock game. I'm going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
What are you doing out there?
One of my wife's best friends from Albrook is a lawyer there and lives there and wanted us to come visit. So I'm going to be finally living on Tulsa time.
It says through 8 games this season, Nix has completed 54% of his passes, 1,458 yards, and 12 touchdowns. That's not bad stat, is it?
No, but you need a running game to offset that.
Yeah.
You got to.
But Max, I can't believe you haven't heard about this great running back Auburn's got that they just pulled out.
His name's DJ Williams. He rushed for 130 yards against LSU.
Well, I saw Williams run down and step out of bounds after that 70-yard run. So I did know a little bit about him. But where's he been all year? Whitlow's been out for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
They got to go.
Yeah, they brought Whitlow back in to run the Wildcat a few times, and now they say he's hurt again. 3 snaps. He ran the ball 3 times, and that was it.
See, that's what I don't want Alabama to do with Tua is play somebody that probably shouldn't be playing and risk getting a more serious injury.
That's true, and that leads you to see now what Tua does at Alabama. I'll be anxious to see. I know I've listened to all the newscasts and all the stuff that Coach Saban's saying and all that, but I know part of that is to be sure that LSU's got to prepare for 2 quarterbacks, and that's the game shift that you got to play sometimes. I don't know where I play him tonight. I'll be honest.
I went to the Red Elephant Club meeting. Monday night here down on 30A, and they said the swelling was not as bad this time. It's not on his plant foot. They said he was already walking around the next day. I mean, everybody there, that was involved in that meeting acted like he was going to play.
I'll make one point. Alabama could lose that game to LSU, say it's a competitive game, especially if you're not playing Tua, and have a very good chance of still making the playoffs, especially after Oklahoma got upset by Kansas State. I mean, so who would if Alabama had one loss, and say that Ohio State runs the table, Clemson runs the table, LSU finishes up undefeated, so you got about 3 teams that are vying for that 4th spot. It would be Alabama, Oklahoma, and maybe Penn State. And I'm telling y'all folks that Alabama gets in over Oregon, Alabama gets in over Oklahoma, Alabama gets in over Penn State. Especially when everybody knows that Alabama played their biggest game without their best player, and their only loss was to the number 1 undefeated team, whereas Oklahoma lost to the number 55 Kansas State team. Alabama would get in.
You know, right now the only sure bet is Clemson. Is that right?
Probably.
I think Ohio State's a sure bet.
If Oregon wins out, guys, they'll bring a West Coast team.
Right, they've got to play Oklahoma, though.
An Oregon team that lost to Auburn?
They aren't going to take a 2-loss team, and they aren't going to take 2 from one conference. Mark that down.
Oregon almost got beat by Washington State. They only won 37-35. Tomorrow night, if anybody wants to watch Troy's old coach, Neil Brown, he'll be live on ESPN going to Baylor to play the undefeated Baylor Bears.
That would be a great one, yeah.
I tell you what, Baylor hired a great coach. Matt Rule is a great coach. He did great things at Temple, and now he's turned Baylor around. He's a guy that I think could have a big-time coaching job.
Hey, I'll tell you the one to watch is the North Dakota State coach, man. He's on fire, though. He's yet to get beat, isn't he?
No, you're talking the one that went to Kansas State?
Yeah. Oh, he's lost one, yeah.
Twice, yeah.
But you know, he just dominated at North Dakota State. What do you think about him, Max?
Well, I think he's done a really good job. I mean, I think he blew into the Starkville. Nobody thought he could win there. Then they come away with a big win. And there are other guys out there that have gone kind of under the radar when they're in a smaller team, school, or sometimes in what we used to see a 1AA. And the guy at Appalachian State, for example. Those guys have put together really, really good programs along the way. And many times they don't ever get a chance because the powers to be are afraid to risk bringing them into a big-time program. And certainly, we'll get a chance to watch Neil West Virginia, see if he can turn that back around. But you got to remember why those guys get a job. Normally because they've lost, they didn't have any talent there to begin with.
Max, while we got you, what are your thoughts on the Florida-Georgia game Saturday?
Well, you go back and look. Georgia's going to probably win that football game. They got more talent, but they haven't played very well. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they had, 35 yards total offense. They keep, they keep winning that way. Dan Mullen, to me, is he's the best play caller in the Southeastern Conference. He just don't have enough talent right now. He will get there. And I look for him to be competitive.
He doesn't have a great quarterback, what you're saying, probably.
No, Trask is he'd start in high school. He's just a, pedestrian guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the guy that he wants, I'm sure.
Although I think he's a lot better than the guy that they were starting at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying, though, if he gets a great quarterback, just think how good he might be.
Well, the only reason that Emory Jones is not playing right now, guys, is that he can't comprehend his offense. He's got the talent. I mean,
who is Emory Jones?
Must be the second-string guy.
He's the backup quarterback. He ought to be the number 1 guy. He's Justin Fields in a different uniform.
Oh.
I mean, he's a full sprinter. He throws the ball through a brain child, but he just, for some reason, he can't grasp Dan's offense. And I'm telling you from one of the assistant coaches on that staff, he'd be playing down because he's way more talented than Felipe Franks or Trask. But they use him as they can. Substitute him on certain plays. Sometimes they put him in a wildcat and let him run. But I don't know, until he gets him a big-time quarterback, they're going to struggle there.
Did you see what Kentucky's quarterback did running the ball? He's a former receiver.
Last quarter of that ball game, he took 23 snaps for the same play. He 4 down range. He had, I think, over 300 yards rushing in that ball game when they beat Missouri this past weekend.
Isn't that amazing?
But he's, he doesn't throw very well. but he's talented. He's a good athlete. And I thought, hey, Mark Stoops did what he had to do.
All right, I tell you what, this will be fun. What teams have blown it so far this year? One of them is Wisconsin. The other one is Missouri. Would you say they've blown it? I mean, they've come out of the. I mean, everybody knows what kind of team.
I think Oklahoma might have blown it last week.
And then now everybody that said no, Oklahoma had the great defense, well, they proved to be wrong there, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I thought Oklahoma was the thing. I thought the defense improved, but that certainly they couldn't stop the off tackle or sweep anything else. I don't know what was wrong.
And you know who they were running behind at Kansas State? They ran up and down the field on Oklahoma. One, Tyler Mitchell.
His granddaddy was sitting in here just 20 minutes ago. He's my preacher. And he was here to promote T. Bob Davis, a great pianist that's coming to Calvary Baptist Church Sunday at 9. But his granddaddy was sitting no further than 20 feet from us just a while ago.
And his grandson can say that he beat Oklahoma when they were in the top 5 his senior year in college.
His son went to Montgomery Academy, and Troy didn't even look at him.
Wow.
He started for 4 years at Kansas State.
He's 6'6" and weighs 325 pounds.
Wow.
And straight A student, I think, too.
See. Well, look, I did that for a long time. You're going to miss some.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And you're going to recruit some that you're going to paper at the high school level. You think as a cheap miss, they get them on a college campus, they disappear.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. I'm going to tell you, that's the hardest aspect. Now, of course, the kids' day are a little bit different. I've been off the field a long time.
All right, let me ask you something. Fulton, Mississippi, if you drew a straight line toward Atlanta, which side of Atlanta would
just
Fulton?
A little south, just a little bit south, Mike. We're pretty straight, right across North Birmingham and just south of Atlanta.
And ladies and gentlemen, he said it has rained cats and dogs over there. Is it still raining?
Oh, listen, if we got 4 inches Saturday, we're probably going to get 4 or 5 today.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it comes in, guys, we went 3 months and didn't even rain in this county up here.
But y'all going to have some flooding. Don't you think you're going to have some flooding?
Oh, yeah. They already put it out this morning, flash floods.
And,
a lot of that front's coming up, but it's going to be all day today.
Fulton is not far from Oxford, is it?
About 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
About 40 miles. Yeah, it's an easy run. It's really a good. I live right on the river, right by the interstate. Takes me downtown Atlanta 4 hours, downtown Birmingham about an hour 45.
That's not bad, not bad.
I can be at Memphis in an hour and 50 minutes. And, I'm 3 hours from Jackson.
Well, a lot of these people say, Mike, shut up and ask Max what's for dinner. Mike, I hear him right there. Shut up, Mike, and let him talk.
This time, look, guys. This time of the year, the guys, if we're going to cook this weekend, I'm going to do probably birds and stew, and I do a lot of different. I put a lot of vegetables in mine, but I'm going to do pulled pork and chicken in the stew, and I'll let it cook all day. I do a big crock pot, and we'll let that cook today, and we'll have our traditional sides. Got my relish dish. I'm going to do jalapeno cornbread with it. And that's we'll do some salad. We got a couple of the ladies that like to eat potato salad or just a garden salad with homemade. I do a comeback, what they call a comeback sauce. It's 1,000 Island with cayenne pepper in it.
Oh boy,
it's kind of tangy. It's really good.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap that up this time of year. But by Saturday, you know what the high on Saturday here is?
What?
Like just under 40, about 38.
Whoa! So it's gonna be cold.
It's going to freeze Friday night.
Yeah, you're going to have some hot chocolate, aren't you?
I'm glad to hear that because my air conditioner just broke, so I don't need it.
It'll be a little more liquid than hot chocolate, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
They get warm on this thing. But yeah, we got it. Now I'm going to do a big chocolate, what I call a Mississippi mud pie. It's a 3-layer chocolate. Each layer is chocolate syrup and pecans. Take it out the oven. Homemade ice cream on the top.
Ooh, brother.
Those trips are worth it just to eat your food.
I'm going to pull up the driveway and old Mac's going to say, who are you? I said, Mike Amos. You remember me a long time ago when you're on my talk show. Mike Amos. You remember me, Max?
I always do, Mike.
But, hey, Max, this fellow down here said he knows you. He said, and then I can hear him say, I've never seen him before in my life. Get him out of here.
Who is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Max, it's always a pleasure, my friend, and we appreciate you calling.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Max Howell, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office.
Piggly Wiggly's local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA Choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
Big discounts, big selection, and big, really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale, only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep brand. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down, and you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down, and payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep brand or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Are you a driver trainee looking for a job? Then come to Wiley Sanders Truck Line, where we reimburse you for your driver training pay. Thank you so much for bringing Reed State to Wiley Sanders Truck Line.
Absolutely. Now that we brought them to you, what do you have to offer them?
I have a lot to offer them. I can offer them 401k. I can give them 4% of their gross pay. I can give them Blue Cross Blue Shield. I can get them home twice a week and every weekend. That's right, twice a week, every weekend. Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, Troy, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Troy.
Boy, they got good looking.
Yeah, they got the quarterback back. They didn't play him really until the third game, and now that he's playing again, they're clicking.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot going on with Halloween.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah,
What are you dressing up
where
as?
to go down here because it's gonna be raining so bad.
I'm dressing up as Mike Amos. One time, when I was working with a fraternity here on campus, a kid came up to me and said, "Mr. Amos, can I borrow you a sweater vest and your black and white saddle Oxfords?" And he went to the party as Mike Amos. Mike will tell you this.
The pledges had to get him to sign their pledge book or something one time. So he was at a gas station, and somehow they spotted him at a gas station. So about 30 kids all of a sudden ran up to you and wanted your autograph to sign their pledge book or something like that. And then some lady didn't know what was going on, and she was at the gas station and asked Dad for his autograph too. Yeah, 3 or 4 ladies came out of the gas station and wanted my autograph.
Well, isn't one of your nicknames Famous Amos? So I guess you are.
Well, that did make me feel good, but probably something that made me feel better than anything that's ever happened to me was during Christmas. We had a big Crow Christmas in Birmingham. That's where my wife's folks are from, is Birmingham.
That's where all your kids were living too.
And that's where all my kids were living. And my daughter Rebecca and I always liked to ride around, and she had somewhere she had to go, so I told her, I said I'd ride with her. So we're riding through Mountain Brook and looking at all those beautiful lights and all that. You know, and Birmingham really goes out for it too. And I get a telephone call, and was it on telephone or whatever? And it was our campfire. It came from our campfire.
Yeah.
They were FaceTiming you.
Yeah, and this was on Christmas Eve, and they were FaceTiming me, and they started singing,
Homes in Alabama.
My Homes in Alabama, and
how about that? Did it bring tears to your eyes?
No, well, actually.
No, they were singing Christmas in Dixie, weren't they?
Christmas in Dixie, and then when they got to the part that says, and from Troy, Alabama, Merry Christmas to Mike.
How about that?
They said from Crow Hill, Alabama.
Yeah, from Crow Hill, Alabama. They said Merry, and it was about 50 folks, and the fire was going hard, and we're riding down the road, and this comes on the screen.
That's awesome.
And one of my favorite best buddies, who's quite a bit younger than me, Mike.
Bobby Hussey.
Bobby Hussey. Let me tell you this. if they come in and better than Bobby Hussey, I want to see him. He is a great guy. And he put it together, but he made an old man feel good because, you know, I miss being at that. I put on that campfire. In fact, you can come this year.
All right, we will. Yeah, thanks.
You'd enjoy it. But for many years, I was Santa. I played Santa.
You started the tradition of putting all the lights on the trees
That's
up there.
Right, I sure did. And we enjoyed it. Hey, is this Mary Prater? Or this Millie?
That's Millie.
Millie, how you doing, Millie?
I'm about to take him to school.
Happy
so
birthday, Millie.
I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
Have a good one.
My go take my grandchildren to school. They live in right down.
Well, I love what y'all have done on Crow Hill. All your traditions. It's a distinct neighborhood, unlike any other in Troy. And then we have Halloween, which I guess they'll be out trick-or-treating all over Troy.
Now, people are going to say, well, those sorry folks, when I tell you this, we trick-or-treat on Friday nights, so because of the crowds are so big on Saturday night. Our little children on Crow Hill trick-or-treat on Friday night.
Well, the people probably drive to your neighborhood and drop their kids off to
That's what they
trick-or-treat.
do. That's what they do. They come up in buses, on Halloween. So for our kids in the neighborhood to be able to have...
So they all have candy on Thursday night and Friday night?
Yeah, really. If they
on
want
2
to,
nights?
If they want to, but most of them just go on Friday night.
November 1st.
That's right, which is, that's just what they do on Crow Hill to not have such a huge crowd, And, I tell you what tickles me. We were... a lot of our kids what they do, they'll go up and trick-or-treat. Then they'll go home, they'll change costumes and go out and do it again. One kid did it 3 times, but I used to love to have the mask and,
I bet.
But, let me tell you this, though. It's pretty tough now for you to come out there and scare a little child. I mean, it really makes you feel bad because a little child starts crying. I mean, we're not out there to do that. And that's exactly what these mean-looking masks do. They scare little children.
The people...
What's the name of your little 3-year-old?
Jack.
Jack's going to get scared. Yeah. Are you going to be there for him?
I will. He's going to be Catman. And then Maggie's going to be a raccoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as people in Crow Hill, are they decorating their yards for Halloween or something?
Some people do and some don't. But of course, it's tradition. I'll tell you, I drove through the gated community. Have you been through there lately?
Not lately.
Oh man,
I've always enjoyed it though.
There's not a neighborhood prettier as far as
Palos Verdes.
I mean, they got some of the most impressive houses I've ever seen in Troy. Beautiful. And they've got, that's...
it took a while for that neighborhood to take off. I remember Mr. Golden developed it, and I always thought it had great potential, and it's finally happened.
Right, and a lot of people that I know well that live in there, and it's very nice. Very nice.
And it's our only gated neighborhood.
But we had one lady in our neighborhood said, we want to put a gate up. I said, listen, this is public property. They're not going to let you put a gate up. If you want a gated community, we got one,
I've thought about that. If you ever have the apocalypse and the end of the world and everything going bad, where people would be wanting to storm your house and steal what you have, it might be nice to be in a really good gated community.
I'm around maybe the best. If I'm bragging, but it's so. The lake, Crow Lake,
Yes.
Where the pines was all those years.
How many acres is that lake?
That's 40 acres. But that's the prettiest area in Troy to develop, and maybe we might make that a gated community. We hadn't done anything, or even, but I just thought about it. That would really make that a special place to live.
Well, that's going to happen one day, I bet. You're right.
And of course, somebody wants to come in there and buy that property and develop it and make you a gated community. Let me tell you this: a lot on a lake in Troy, Alabama, and you're probably 2 minutes from downtown
And
Troy.
you're up on a hill and a bluff.
You're 2 minutes from, or 1 minute from Troy University.
It's a gold mine. Donald Trump would buy it up if he lived here.
Yeah, and we're just sitting there waiting for somebody to give us a price we can't refuse. Hope that you've enjoyed our show today, and of course, brought to you by Premier Dodge.
We got a couple minutes. I'll tell you a story about a neighborhood if you want to hear one.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
We got 3 minutes.
Of course, Hillcrest, where you live, is...
the story about neighborhoods is the first developer always goes bankrupt, or it never does well with it, and the guy that comes in later does great, which is the case of the Waters in Pike Road, where I lived in Montgomery. I was the editor of the Montgomery Independent and did a big story on the Waters. Well, the first guy that developed it owned all that land, real nice country guy, did okay, started to build some houses with this new seaside effect, but he ran out of money. It's incredibly expensive.
Sure.
And in some
roads, it costs a lot to build roads. People don't realize that.
Gutter roads, lighting,
That's right.
As you know.
Especially if you're in the city limits, you got to adhere to all those requirements.
I would say there were maybe 150 houses out in the Waters, or 200. You could tell it was going to be neat.
Yeah.
But he sold out, or mostly sold out, to this outfit in Birmingham.
You're talking about the Waters then, aren't you?
Yeah, then this outfit in Birmingham, which had deep pockets, they finished it and developed all these different phases, and there's more phases to come, man. I mean, they're going to have 20,000 people living in the Waters one day.
We have a lot of people.
But now it is 1,000, way more than 1,000 houses in the little town center. But it was it wasn't the visionary who took all the risks who really got the big riches. It's always the person that seems like that comes in afterwards.
Those people that invested early there got premium lots right there on the water.
Yeah.
Beautiful area, no question about it. We have several people that we know well that commute from there. If you'll think about it, as the bird flies, it's not that far to Troy from there.
No. I mean, then
especially if you know those country roads. I'll tell you something, too, that'll surprise you, too, is to ride back in there on down the roads there and see some of these gigantic homes that people from Montgomery have built, in that area. I'm talking about 20 miles, almost to Union Springs. These houses have gone up, and they're just simply beautiful.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Pike Road, we always went through Pike Road. We lived in Opelika, and the shortcut from I-85 to Highway 231 is, of course, Pike Road.
Yeah.
Which everybody in Troy knows and has known forever. But I remember making that, riding through there, and Dad would always talk about, this is some of the most beautiful country in Alabama. With it was all cow pastures and
Exactly. Now, he came from a big town out in Oregon, right there.
Oh, there's 160,000 when I left.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big town for us.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to make it and make things happen. And you talk about Crow Hill and some things we've done. You got to have neighbors that want to go. They'll go along with you.
Well,
do it.
Forget what
the thing about Crow Hill. 99% of the people participate. 99%.
Crow Hill did work out with the original developers, so it's not every neighborhood.
Well, you have requirements, and to build a certain specifications, that type of thing. It's important, and you got to be careful, what you can run into if you don't watch it. Like small thing, you can't drive right straight into a garage. Why?
Why?
Why? Because do you want to ride down the road and look at somebody's garage and all that junk in the garage?
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to see my junk.
Yeah.
So the garage doors are always either on the side or in the back.
How about that? Yeah, it makes a difference.
They do it. That's a little thing,
I moved from Woodland Creek in Pike Road, which is a louder new homes development, and gosh, it's gone from 200 homes to 1,500 homes. What I don't like is it's got all size lots, 100 foot to 80 foot to 60 to 40 foot. But people park on the street.
Yeah.
And it's some of those smaller lots, in the small driveways, everywhere, it's hard to drive through there with so many cars parked on the street.
Well, that's one of our requirements too. But now they've got visitors. There's no problem with parking on the street. But residents there.
And you also worry about your kids running out behind those cars and some people speeding down these roads, not seeing little kids.
Troy's got great places to live. I hope you've enjoyed our show today, brought to you by Health Actions. And, boy, they're the best rehab folks around, no question about it. We appreciate Bill Jackson, Ford, and Chevrolet now. And, of course, stay tuned for their big...
We need to have somebody from Health
Bill
Actions
Jackson
come on and
tomorrow.
tell us what they think, too, is going through right now.
Yeah, I think you won't think, too. I think a lot of it's just been... they're trying to make LSU wonder what...
Prepare for two quarterbacks?
Yeah, two will be the man, I guarantee you. Unless they might start Jones, but they'll...
quickly bring it
Hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.